Thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment, of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in each and every day. We'll do the same without wasting a single second of your time. Bada bing, bada boom, we go into the charts. 2 12-hour candles later, and we are seeing that Bitcoin got a little bit of a rip to the upside overall, and they did a little bit of a bear trap before doing so. So let's go see what I mean by that inside of the liquidity of high block. What is high block capital? Well, people lock their liquidity into the charts to get burnt to a crisp by the market maker for not using a stop loss, and we get to see where those crispy characters lie in wait. So we were talking about a B retrace up into the liquidity zone of the 50 extras, and then a drop into the longs thereafter, and it did that. And then what could have transpired after that is what we see here in the liquidity here for the shorts. You had $187 million triggered in as they dropped into support, and so they sharply V-shaped into the 100 Xers and beyond.
Fatality.
And the same thing happened on NASDAQ Live Futures, if you're watching along, where they dropped in that 1 minute candle and then recovered everything and then some for NASDAQ. And now they came back to that 50x pool at 27,723 and beyond, as they came up into the 25 Xers up in the tune of the 28.4 region. And in doing so, triggered some longs to the tune of $251 million. 100 Xers already reclaimed thus far. Do they come back for the 50 Xers at 27,782, with the imbalance currently at $3 billion on the 1 minute time frame? It would make sense to come back at least to the 50 Xers, and some of these 100 Xers down at 27,718. We'll go ahead and expand our vision to the higher time frame pools. Hey CNC, thanks for stopping on in. As always, try to make it short and sweet for you. And let's see, as we turn to the max liquidity range. Max liquidity. So after coming up into this 28, basically the 28,450 region, taking out the billions up here, so they're at 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. About $15 billion taken up in the 28,450 region. Now starting to see the imbalance, the heavier weighted liquidity pool down at 26,950. I don't know if it's imbalanced, but it does look like there is more liquidity on the 7-day to that 27K region. Looking at the monthly came back into a region here, taking back that 15 billion. There's 12 billion up at 28.7 in terms of a liquidity band they can continue up to if they were so inclined. The entire region, though, is thicker on the monthly to the downside within this range. Where's the fatigue point in sight? It's basically 60 billion up in the 29K region if it decides to go that way in the 3-month time frame. Starts to taper after 29K, so if it does manage to make it to 29K, does it start to make it into these richer pools below? The 6-month time frame also insinuating that drop to the 24/3 region of $176 billion at some point. I don't see them leaving that there and going to 32K. Just doesn't make sense to me. And that 261 billion at 23.6, just calling your name. Can you hear the club? And yeah, back to the monthly here. Let's see these pools down below, double digits at 25.8, double digits up here at 28.7. Let's leave it on the monthly and head into the Binance chart as we check how the levels held. Okay, so once again, we were talking about on the larger picture to potentially fade up here in the B wave and make our way down here eventually on the 3-day. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go ahead and throw on our indicators. What is this stuff? Well, the link is in the description for more. Scroll down to features, toggle all of the components if you please to see what it looks like at Bitcoin's bottom at 15K, and volume weighted cloud. As other components come into prominence, you can read about them, like the baselines and whatnot. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to that 3-day we were looking at. So the 3-day cloud, seeing rejection on the cloud was what we were talking about on the 3-day time frame, potentially coming back. The baseline still holding strong in terms of a cross up event. The cross down brought with it some downside. Does the cross up continue to bring the upside? The 3-day candle closed out strong because of that subtle support from that 3-day time frame. If we look at the 3-day oscillator, let's go ahead and load that. Getting overbought on the stochastic RSI, money flow and RSI at equal levels. The Williams crossing up, continuing that it could insinuating it could continue subtle supporting here. First, let's go into what we were looking at last time and then delete that work. All right, so last time we were talking about back here, we were talking about possibly coming up to this pool inside the vector candle and possibly rejecting. We were off from that 27,649 region to 27,772, so we were off by about $100, but we did wick up into that bearish super trend and wick down after that point. And what would you have seen in the moment to possibly catch this reversal? Let's go ahead and take a look at that. We were doing NASDAQ futures, so we were not updating you on this, but what would you have been able to look at using Momentum Master? Let's go back in time and see. Okay, so one, you came beneath the channel here, which generally when you get above it you come back in it, when you get below it you come back in it. So getting that type of insinuating move, you had the 5 time frames oversold across the oscillators. Let's go into a lower time frame for that interesting idea here. So you had vector candle, stopping volume candle. The blue insinuates stopping volume. You did not get 3 hits of volume, but then you started to see this reclaiming and crossover event of the baselines. So this one did not give you the general like hugging the cloud, reclaiming. Basically you would have had to gone to a really low time frame here. And would you have known that this was going to happen? Basically here's where the cloud started to shift. So as you started to make some aggressive candles above the cloud as it's starting to shift here, that would have been an idea to go long with lower risk than back here where it's purple and you don't know for sure. So that would have been able to get you in with a nice idea there, and you maintain the cloud here, started to potentially fade it, but then surged up above the cloud on the 1 minute. So it wasn't as clear of an entry model as some of the other times in the past. Like here, you come up above the cloud, you reclaim it and gone. Nothing like that here within this We also had that huge manipulation. It wasn't even just for Bitcoin. This entire drop down in like 2 30-second candles, and the same thing occurred with DXY. So they created that bear trap, and so it was a kind of trappy move for both sides. But we had you at hello for coming up into this region and then dropping. So we had this initial idea of coming up to the golden pocket and rejecting off the pools. We didn't make it to that pool exactly, but then we started to drop down. Wait, whoops, here. That was from the day before, actually. So we were talking about coming up into this pool. We were off by $100, and we talked about it sharply reversing. So you would have had both ideas come to fruition. And we weren't updating you for this level. So now how can we gauge where it's going to go over the weekend? It is low liquidity Saturday here in Japan, October 7th, Saturday, 2023. Okay, we can delete this because that was reclaimed. And now starting to see this shift in rejection possibility for the 5-minute reset. 5-minute now starting to come down here. 15-minute possibly getting some suppression as the higher time frames now adjust themselves and reset. Technically 1, 2, 3 hits in this golden pocket region. Basically hit this too, so we can delete that. And the only remaining pocket is a deep one. So it came to the 786 here and started to reverse. Recently, the 786 has been popularized by some YouTubers and people selling courses. Let's see. Let's descend through the time frame, shall we? All right. KD lines holding here, money flow beneath the RSI on the daily, slightly suggesting you could still get a push up. Base lines crossing up and holding the price line. Weighted moving average also beneath the price, suggesting it's holding. Once again, we talked about on the monthly time frame, this pool up at 12 billion at 28.7 that it could come into, most likely coming down to that 27,782 $251 million pool. So let me mark that off really quick. 27,772 27,772 770 is close enough. So coming to that region first, and then possibly going up into that 28.7 11 billion. 28.7 would put you at that daily support level from back in the day, which we marked off here. So either way, the daily time frame could still continue higher, although coming back into some order blocks of long liquidity. 22-hour now starting to curve up, money flow beneath the RSI, suggesting the 22 get a continued move. If you go to the 12-hour also starting to cross up here. Closed out the candle relatively strong in the green. Six-hour also had some hidden bullish divergence on the money flow, as the money flow was separated from the RSI here to a fair degree. Starting to see the money flow back in, getting overbought on the stochastic, but the Williams could be breaking above this 50 region and coming up higher as you get subtle support from the 12 and the 22. If you go to the 4-hour here, 4-hour reclaimed the cloud. Cloud was starting to taper in an angle here, but the thickness is still mighty thick. There's no thinning just yet. So coming back beneath this and buying it back up re-injected some thickness into this cloud, so it could start to continue to expand at an angle here. Right? Can't get it, so we're just going to use this one. So just going a little bit lower into that 50x pool would make sense on the hourly time frame, coming back and kissing the cloud as things like to do. Break up above the cloud, come back, kiss it for confirmation, and go. If there is bullishness here, we did not get it, and then started to bearishly retest down as we were talking about. So are we doing the inverse, and we're bullishly retesting back up. Hourly suggesting that you could get a reset here, so expecting this to come down at least to the cloud and bounce perhaps as it range trades. Essentially, if you just look at this, we are in a range since Monday essentially. So the weekly candle close, if we go from the start of the week, basically this has been our weekly range with a little bit of a spike to the high. So do we come spike to sweep the lows before the weekly candle closes out? Essentially, if you go to the week, you'll see a bunch of wicks. Let me go ahead to a cleaner chart. So if you look at where we are from the weekly as of now, from where we opened and where we are, it's not so much of a difference. Basically about $50 difference from where we opened the week, with a lot of wick wackiness in between. So seeing us possibly come back down somewhere in the middle here, the equilibrium range. Got a previous 786 retracement bounce. So coming into that pool down below, the 50xers at 27,782 seems to make the most sense at this time, as you have this gap up above with no liquidity being pinged in. So the ideal drift would be to drift into these long pools below as we go into London and New York. And probably by the time we get back into our live stream tomorrow, we could be somewhere in these vectors on the left. So it looks like the 15 is going to get suppressed by the hourly here to send it a little bit lower. You have kind of the beginnings of a diamond top formation, shoulder, head, shoulder perhaps. 15-minute cloud starting to taper here. You could make this kind of continuation idea unfold. Let's go to total. Total looks very much the same. Total 3 looking very much the same. So we still have yet to come down and kiss this cloud. So on the daily time frame for total 3, starting to shift in a bullish manner here, have yet to come back completely and kiss the cloud. So coming back in that manner could make sense. Let's remove that day to make the angle a little bit better. got a previous bounce off the 8-hour cloud. Same here, bullish super trend still holding since Wednesday, September 13th on the 8-hour. Just getting started on the 8-hour time frame for stochastic and the money flow in a good position to keep going. Let's delete this. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the Bitcoin dominance. Dominance receiving an overbought on 6 time frame signal here on the 8-hour. The money flow is beneath the RSI, suggesting you get a push up on dominance some more on this 8-hour, possibly in reclaiming some of this bullishness. This is a bullish trend-based fib level for the dominance, and we're coming up into that 0.65. If we break above the 706 trapdoor, we can go into these regions where Bitcoin dominates even further. USDT dominance. So we talked about the USDT dominance coming down and then going back up. It went down, came back up, and now they're reinvesting back in again. So we were only as accurate as the 12 hours later, and then the preceding 12 hours after was the bear trap being swung. All right, so this was reclaimed, so we can delete this. Still beneath the 236 for the bullish nature to continue on this impulse retrace idea. It is a small impulse and retrace, so we'll reset that for you. And essentially just trading in this channel here. So are we going to continue to the bottom of the channel as more money comes in, perhaps? 12-hour wants to reset. Bearish cloud as USDT dominance drops. That means people put their money on the table. Into trades, rather. So USDT dominance dropping means that they are putting the USDT into assets such as Bitcoin. So if this 12-hour takes off, then you'll have a little bit of a surge up into that pool at 28.7. First things first, coming into that order block here at 27.782. Once again, low liquidity weekend, so I don't expect so much volatility today, but perhaps tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, leading into the weekly candle close. As it stands right now, coming back to the cloud and kissing the cloud is your next step. So that's about the next step on the journey we will allude to. Coming into the liquidity pool at 27.772, and the cloud slightly below that at 27.630. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, folks. Hopefully you can go out and enjoy the weekend with your family. So thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment, of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in, and we'll do the same, bringing the fire, the accuracy, the precision, all that fun